So state of play, excuse me, as such, what's today? August 22nd. I thought it was the 21st. Bad weather is still largely curtailing German operations. The Germans in the morning of August 22nd have largely attacked a convoy codenamed Totem. Initially, they got that big gun they had in the tunnel somewhere near Calais, Big Bertha, whatever it was called, lobbed something like 100 shells at this convoy, which was not moving at the readiest of paces, and all 100 shells failed to hit a single target. So the Luftwaffe were called in, and they didn't do much better. The Luftwaffe were restricted really to sort of hit and run raids on the south of England, airfields and the like, single aircraft coming in that low level at speed, striking somewhere and get the hell out of it. The RAF by and large could not keep pace with it or get up to meet them in time, but some were shot down by the RAF, so there was some success. After tomorrow, 23rd of August, the attacks are going to resume, and then on the 24th, Heinkel, or some bomber coming home thinking it was somewhere it wasn't, jettisoned its bomb so it could get back to France, and dropped them on London. Sporadic damage, some casualties. Churchill was incensed and he has Berlin bombed the next day. Hitler's incensed and orders attacks against London to commence at the earliest opportunity. Those men who dropped the bombs on London Cry by accident might well, if you look at it, have changed history. World history, maybe. I mean, if they had jettisoned their bombs, say, in the Thames Estuary or the Kent countryside or some such, and came home, the attacks would have resumed on the airfields post-haste. It would have carried on, not just against the airfields, against sector stations and wherever and anywhere to bring the RAF down. And then maybe Goering's pathetic claim of the RAF being down to its last 50 fighters would have borne some merit, though of course that wouldn't have been the case even if invasion had happened, and God knows what would have happened. But then of course that leads you to a whole new debate. Had the invasion happened, would it have worked, would it have failed? If it had worked, then I wouldn't be doing this video. If it had failed, it might have hastened the end of Hitler's Third Reich without all of that entailed. I mean, it would have weakened the Germans, I would have thought, a little bit. Maybe not enough to postpone an invasion of Russia, but it would have had knock-on effects. As it is, all this happens between August 24th and September the 6th, and on September the 7th, of course, the Luftwaffe go to bomb London for the first time in daylight. It is not until say September 6th, something that either side can keep going for long. I mean, the Luftwaffe were never built for the war that started in 1939, like the Navy, really. The Navy had a plan to have all of their plans said. That was meant to have battleships, cruisers and whatnot ready for 1945. And the Luftwaffe never really developed a long-range bomber, or never really had the operational capability to do X, Y and Z, and were caught on the back foot at the Battle of Britain, eventually. And then the invasion of Russia happens, and the Stuka has a fresh heyday and all this stuff, but the Luftwaffe after the Battle of Britain really were never the same as they were between September 39 and June 1940, when they had the likes of Poland, France and so on sort of quivering at the sound of their sirens. Churchill's mood, I would imagine by now, is somewhat bullish, somewhat optimistic. Hitler's all over the place, depending on what you read. He orders on, I think it's around about September, first week of September anyway, 16th Army to prepare for the invasion of England on the 20th of September and all this stuff. And it just never feels, whatever you read, if you correlate stuff there, either the Germans were serious about it or thought they could do it, or they were thinking of doing it, and it's just all the factors there in that summer. Either way, obviously, never happened and was never attempted, despite a conspiracy theory that has persisted for 80 years when German bodies were washed up in the south, that apparently they had attempted to land, and the oil slick defence was unleashed where oils leaked onto the channel and then set fire. And Churchill authorised it as a test, and it would have been bloody grisly. I think it would have been one of the last ditch, because you're effectively frying men alive, aren't you? It was some kind of training exercise that went wrong off the northern French coast, and there was some kind of accident, and some of the bodies turned up rather burnt or some sort. So either way, it wasn't an attempted invasion, and until 1945, only the Channel Islands remained the only sovereign British territory touched by Nazi Germany. So where are we? We'll give it until next week, and August will then be over, and even then the critical phase of the Battle of Britain will be upon us. Thanks awfully, chaps.